So next up, we have a short session on the virtual world of opportunity. And it's my pleasure to introduce Chris Blight, who is the UK country manager at AdColony. So over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. We're showing up on the screen. Lovely. So afternoon, everyone. I was supposed to be joined by Heather from Boombit for this session this afternoon, but unfortunately she's fallen ill at the last minute. So as Q&A sessions go, it would have been a bit one-sided. So I've had to quite hastily repurpose that. So apologies for that. But what we wanted to talk about was kind of the work that game developers and kind of platforms like AdColony, how we work together to make this kind of engaging, incredible world where, as we describe it, the virtual world of opportunity that is offering up a brilliant market that advertisers can kind of really, in terms of getting their products in front of the right people. And what makes that so great, kind of some of the key elements as to why that is a great virtual world of opportunity. So one of the things I've worked in digital and specifically mobile for many years, and the environment that the game developers like Zynga, Rovio, Boombit have created does offer up enormous potential. But kind of the three things I just wanted to kind of really highlight here for me, they're the standout features, which are stunning creativity. We'll come on to some of those in a second, but kind of what the technology through in-app enables is amazing in terms of really immersing the user in something, immersing them in your brand, the message, but pulling them into that, getting them to engage. And so we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Also, enormous scales. The guys, thank you, the guys from Tom Duncan from GWI, brilliant insight into kind of where the market's going and dispelling some of those myths about whether it's teenagers in their bedrooms and kind of the old stereotypes. And one of the crucial things, when all this works and when all this comes together, the scale and the creativity, it's then the performance that it generates. It's how that kind of ties together, and then it ticks off many of the kind of the media metrics. And one of the things I wanted to touch on, and unfortunately not discuss with Heather today, but was to talk about kind of going beyond media metrics and actually kind of impactful metrics. So one of the things, if I dive into the creativity side, so if we have the next slide, please. I've got a couple of videos which always have to be a bit careful with the sound. So I'm just going to, if we play that video, please, that'd be great. Here we go. So this is enabled through the technology within kind of particular AdColony campaign that we did with P&G. So you can't do this within kind of a YouTube creative or standalone video. So the creativity and what's kind of the in-app world through the SDK and the partnerships between publishers, by creating that tactile environment where users are used to engaging with their handsets. So I've had to hide my phone so it doesn't buzz away with my team heckling me from afar. But usually you've got your handset when you're playing a game pressed within arm's length of your phone. You've got two hands, you're looking at it closely, you're tapping away. And it's that engagement, that kind of ability to be creative and how you pull users into it. One of the things here is one of a campaign we ran in Q4 was a toothbrush. And I love this from kind of how much creativity you can put into marketing a toothbrush. It's a very impressive toothbrush, of course, but all of these different things where the user is there, they're used to tapping away, they're dragging, they're flicking things across the screen. And so what we do is at the end of that video message, you've got the ability to enhance that. You can pull them into learning more about that. And whether it's a toothbrush, whether it's promoting the latest cinema release or different things like that, that creativity is just, you can't do that in other channels. And I think that the work with the environment that the app developers provide and create is really getting users into that kind of engaged state where they're happy to have the sound on, they're happy to see an advert, they're opting into it. So one of the things that we work very closely with game publishers on, developers on, is making that opt-in format. So users are choosing to do this and they're actually kind of opting in to watch that content. the crucial bits is then kind of what happens afterwards. And I'll come on to the performance in terms of when they're engaging with that. Probably the largest part of the conversation I was going to have with Heather was around the scale. One thing I was going to talk about was kind of Boombit's biggest titles. I think we've done about 36 million, just over 36 million downloads last year. Probably, and it could be, and it's probably easier for me to say this without Heather sat kind of on the screen with me, but it's probably not what I would classify as a household name, but it did 36 million downloads last year. For context, from the figures I could get hold of, Call of Duty, the biggest, and probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest console title, their biggest sales figures to date are about 31 million. So you've got an enormous console brand like Call of Duty is 31, yet kind of a single app from one of our developers that's done 35 million, 36 million. So it just starts to give you an idea of the scale that we're talking about here. In the UK AdColony, we see kind of 40 million uniques across the market. And one of the great things of, obviously we work very closely with those game developers on, is the breadth of those titles. And so in terms of some of the genres that the guys just talked about there, kind of puzzle games and fashion. It's a new world for me watching my daughter interact with her phone as some of the fashion apps that she gets involved with. Cooking, puzzles, all these different types of things. And that kind of scale only works when you can then offer that variety. So the developers have a huge role in creating that landscape that is then obviously the knock-on effect, and kind of the hope and the desire for that is to create a great target audience. If you've got scale across all of those kind of segments, then you can do something with it. Whether you're promoting a toothbrush, or we can move on to other things and see the next video, please. You can then cut up the audience that way. So that scale really is a huge part. One thing, let's play that, please, Gabby. That's great, thank you. Also mentioned about performance. Because users are in that mindset, because users are used to having the sound on because they're engaging with the games, is when an advert appears, that one, they've opted into it, but two, they're in that engaged state. So what that generates is incredible figures, incredible performance for campaigns. So depending on kind of what you can do from how you want to do it from a buying metric point of view, but we have, the market sees incredible completion rates. We're within AdColony across the UK, we see around 95% completion rates as an average. But one of the crucial things is that's just a media metric. Just having a completion rate of 95%, what's that actually mean to your budgets? And surely kind of the perfect thing is actually high engagement. It's high dwell times where people are then going, okay, you know what, this is a interesting piece of content. And if AdColony, we've done our job in terms of the right targeting and the right timing and all of that actually that user, it's not a jarred experience. They've opted in, they've seen something that is relevant to them. And then what we see in this particular example through Porsche is the dwell times that this generated when users were they could get their hands on it, they could interact, they could move around it like no other media kind of offers. So rather than just kind of video at scale, you can really then take that further. You can enhance that message. And I think that what we see through that in terms of engagement levels, over 200% on a lot of our campaigns before Christmas, that you've got users that are willing to do that. They're there to be entertained. And so kind of quite happily getting their hands on a creative. And this particular one, it's a beautiful sports car that you can drag around. And particularly in this time with COVID challenges and lockdown, that this particular one, we're trying to recreate a virtual test drive because users, consumers couldn't get into showrooms. This is how we could bring this to life using the technology. Without that kind of balance between app developers and kind of monetization through ad revenue, it's just not possible. So it's a real fine balance that if you look at the kind of, I said, 40 million uniques across our side, if you look at the numbers and the engagement and the dwell time, you can see that really is a success. So one of the things kind of we talk about virtual world of opportunity, it's huge in terms of the engagement. Said that creativity, the scale, and then also kind of getting proper performance, not just media metrics, but actually kind of rather than a completed view, it's someone seeing and hearing your video as the creative agency designed. So perfect. That was hastily repurposed. So Chris, I will hand back over, but if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to pick up on social afterwards, but look forward to the rest of the seminar. So thank you very much.